Good morning, everybody. You are tuned to Computers 2K now on the Nissan Communications Network. I'm Amnon, your host for the next couple of hours, along with Nick.
Hi.
Hi. Hi. And Mike is here.
He is here.
Our number is 919-518-9773. Computers 2K voice on Skype. And today's show is made possible by Vmix Software, Telestreams, Wirecast software, and is sponsored by Tom Sinclair of Live Streaming Gear. So what's going on?
What's up, Mike?
Nothing. See you later.
What's up?
All right, Mike. All right, guys, that's it.
Yes, sir.
Have a good week.
You too.
Trying to think what's going on this week. Not a whole lot, just hanging out, doing
Yeah, not much happened. It's kind of a slow.
yeah. Going out to Seattle here.
yeah.
See, I won't be on the show, not next weekend, but the weekend after. Be out in Seattle.
Did you put in a request to be absent?
I did.
I didn't see it. Did you see it, Amnon?
I
Yes.
sent it to Amnon. Yeah.
Yeah, he let me know, but
so I'm not in the loop anymore. Is that it?
Yes, sir.
Well, no. I tell you what the problem is, Mike. The problem is you don't remember. He did that about 9 months ago.
Remember
You want me to send a memo
to who?
to you?
Yes. Yeah. Here, I've got a
Okay.
whole bunch of Word document memorandum formats that people have
Okay.
sent me over the past couple of years. Yeah. So I'll be out in Seattle. That'll be fun. We'll be covering the I don't know what it's called PAX. It stands for the Penny Arcade Expo, but
It's a gaming thing.
yeah, it's dramatically changed over the past couple of years. There's a couple of these shows. They do one in Boston, all but under the same group, PAX. There's one in Boston. There's one in Seattle. There's one in Austin, Texas. Then they do one in Australia, and then they do a board game show in Philadelphia, and then finally they do a developer show in Los Angeles every year. So they do a whole bunch of shows, and we're going with the Infection Podcast, and this will be our third show in a row. We went to PAX East in 2017, and then PAX West in 2018, and now 2019. So looking forward to it. We got a friend from the UK. One of our listeners from the UK is joining us. It's going to be pretty neat. So excited. We're going to have a good time.
Wait, is this where you sign autographs?
No, we've never signed any autographs. We're still waiting for that, but who knows?
I usually go to the one in Australia and they line up to get my autograph.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. The guy we're going with from the UK is actually a pretty large YouTuber. I think he's got almost 200,000 subscribers. So
Wow.
he's relatively well known in the animation community. So it's going to be a good time. We're looking forward to going.
Yeah, this week they on the evening news, I walked into the living room and I heard them starting to talk about Fortnite.
Oh boy.
And they were talking with somebody from Duke about how kids get addicted to it, but how it also does good, and back and forth and back. And it was like almost like a 2-minute, 3-minute report locally.
Yeah.
Not one word about the fact that Epic is right here.
Yeah, it's so weird. I mean, you've got the largest video game in the world now going on almost over a year, and the game is being developed, what, a mile and a half from where you live, Amnon? I
Less than
mean,
that, yeah,
it's
Yeah,
just
it's
a
less than that. He could throw a rock and hit it.
yeah.
yeah, so it's crazy, and it really has changed, what Epic has done with Fortnite. Now they're moving into, um, the video game marketplace. They've got their own store called the Epic Game Store, and they're doing that as well, selling they're the biggest competition for Steam right now. They're shelling out hundreds of millions of well, probably not hun tens of millions of dollars for exclusivity deals. They're really pissing everybody off, but, they're trying to compete with Steam, and it's been quite interesting to watch.
Oh, that's what business is all about, is to
It's
compete
what it's
with
always
your
been.
yeah,
Yeah, but for some reason, the
and they're doing a good job.
yeah,
That's
well,
the thing.
they're doing some things good, they're not doing other things good, but for some
Well,
reason, and it's weird to me, and maybe you guys have some insight on this. The gaming community, for whatever reason, you would think would be the most pro competition group in the world, right? I mean, it's just you think these people would be all for competition because we know as more conservatively leaning people that competition equals pretty much in the most cases two things: better prices and or better service, better product. That's most of the time what competition does. There's cases where that's not the case. And for some reason, the video game community, the gamer community, just cannot get over the fact that Epic is doing exclusives and is bringing competition to the market. It's fascinating to watch, and there's no rhyme or reason. Even physically conservative people are are butthurt over what Epic's doing, and it's quite interesting to watch. And I don't know why.
hmm.
It's peculiar.
Mike, which games are you playing?
I play them all in on.
Okay. All right.
Bubble
I do.
drop fantasy.
I'm just about to advance beyond Pac-Man.
Oh wow! Congratulations.
So what is it I don't understand this exclusive thing you're talking about. Are you talking about they're selling it through exclusive channels or what?
So so um just like Netflix and Amazon do, right? They'll buy a series or pay somebody to produce a series just on Amazon. So Epic will pay a developer or fund the cost of the development, and the game is only available to be purchased on their platform. Now, most of the time, these are year exclusivity deals. So in a year, it'll feather over to some other platforms online. But in the case of what Epic's doing, they're in a lot of cases taking small developers, small games, funding the game to completion, and because of that, they're getting they're getting the first to eat at it. They're holding the exclusivity for a year, which is not uncommon. I mean, if you look at a lot of online things, exclusivity is huge.
Why are people complaining? That's the way
Mike,
the
I have no
business works.
idea.
I
Every week,
mean,
we Brian and I have been named the epic shills for talking about this because everybody is just so butthurt over the fact that a company is doing this. I think it's the greatest thing in the world.
no, that's I don't know if it's good or bad. It's just the way the business works. If I spend $5 million developing a game, why should I give it to everybody?
Well, and that's kind of what they're doing, and they're not doing it with big titles because big titles can fund the game themselves and can give Epic the middle finger, but for little game developer studio with 5 people, the guy and his wife and 3 friends that are making the game, Epic waves a couple $100,000 at them and says, "Hey, this'll fund your development, the rest of your development. We want your game for a year exclusively on our store." In my opinion, you'd be a jackass not to take not to take a deal like that.
Yeah, well, it depends. It depends. I would rather have a small piece of a big pie than a big piece of no pie.
So in this situation, who is the big pie?
Big pie. So if
The
you and I
audience.
decide to write a game,
Yeah.
we get it and it's almost working. And in
Mhm.
fact, we finish it. And it's fantastic.
Okay.
We get 500 people to buy it. We
Yep.
make $50 each.
'Kay.
But Epic picks it up and they get 50 million people to buy it. Now we make $1 million each. Which one would you prefer?
Oh, absolutely, with the Epic situation.
But
So
but I and again, we talk politics here, and if I'm considered conservative leaning, I've got to clean up my act because I am not leaning any direction. I am solidly conservative and unapologetically so. But uh, I had something else I was going to say about that too, but it'll come to me in a minute.
It's just
Yeah.
I find it very
I know
interesting.
what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Your generation has a problem with understanding business, and that's going to develop into even a bigger problem as time goes on.
I agree, and Brian and I have we've gotten actually a significant amount of I'm not gonna call it hate mail, but, because I mean, the people aren't that pissed, but we have gotten a significant amount of backlash discussing this over the past year, and people will do it the same thing. These stupid video game developers will bitch and moan about, "Oh, I'm working a lot of hours because a project is coming due," and all this, and a couple months ago, we were talking about this, and it's real simple. If you hate your job, find somewhere else to work.
I've heard that before.
Yeah, I know you have.
Um, the so
That's what it is.
well, but I told you the story here on this show before about a guy living out on in California. I don't know exactly where or which company. It's one of the top 5 big game companies. His wife is absolutely distraught because he never comes home.
Yeah.
Why doesn't he come home? Well, he works in the video game industry. Well, why doesn't he come home? Because he has all this work to do, these deadlines to meet. And I said, yeah, well, they'd have to pay him a whole lot of money to do it, and it's over $2 million. And I told her to buy a TV.
I mean, well, it's the thing that's so interesting is that case. 'Cause a lot of these deadlines are, "Okay, we've known now for a year and a half that we need to have this project done by day X." You don't just decide tomorrow, "We need to have a video game out next week." That's not how the industry works. In a lot of these cases, these are long-term, very in-depth, detailed projects, and you get behind over time. Your release date's your release date. You've been shipping your people have been pre-ordering the game for months, years. So you've gotta hit your release date. So yeah, you're gonna have to work 90 hours a week for a couple months leading up to the launch of the game. But I mean, that's not that's a whole bunch of any businesses that have um,
Sensitive.
time sensitive deadlines have that. I mean, Mike, and when I don't know about your current position, but I'm sure in positions past, when you have to have something shipped or ready by a certain date, damn it, you gotta get it done.
There's
Doesn't
no
matter what.
option.
No, there of course there's no option. So if you don't like it, go find somewhere else to work.
Well, I still don't understand what your people are complaining about,
A good question.
and I don't know that I would spend a lot of time being concerned over it. I mean, if you really want haters, you need to tell the truth about vaccines.
Yeah, yeah, well, that's fortunately one thing we don't discuss on our program,
Yeah,
so
well,
The
that's too
the
bad.
the other thing about what Epic is doing, a lot of these games that they would fund, probably the team that's developing it, like you said, the guy, his wife, and 3 friends, and they what are the percentage of, uh, games that actually make it to market when they are with small group of developers?
you're absolutely right. The answer's almost none, and
Right.
that's exactly what they're doing. They're
Yeah.
Whoa. Wait, explain that. When you say they almost never make it to market, are you saying that they offer it for sale and no one knows about it, so they don't sell any, or they actually don't finish the development?
So, in a lot of the cases, they go into what is called early access, which has become the new way to develop a video game. You go into early access, you release in most cases, a half price. So, in the case of a $40 game, a $20 version of the game. You are you buy that as the consumer, and you are playing an unfinished game for half price. And the idea is over time, the company or the developers finish the game, and now you've got a $40 product for 20. Now there's different levels of early access. There's games that are unplayable when they launch, and there's other games that are pretty well finished. They're just trying to, they may just be strapped on cash, and they need to pick up some cash to finish the development. So they take a little bit of a cut on the purchase. So in Amnon, what Amnon was describing is you've got a lot of these companies that are close to finishing, but just do not have the means to do that.
Right.
Smaller studios, they're not even studios, they're a couple people, and Epic will flaunt a couple $100,000, I assume, and pick up the rights to the game for a year. But that pisses a lot of people off
Mhm,
because
I know
because they say originally, we'll be on Steam, and then 6 months before the game's supposed to come out, they go, "Well, unfortunately, now we're on Epic," and that pisses a lot of people off.
So Epic is like, the equivalent of an operating system. It's like someone develops a program for Macintosh, and then before they release it, they say, "We're not gonna release the Mac version, we're gonna release the Windows version."
Yes, but it's not that extreme because an Epic account is free. It doesn't cost any money to use Epic, and the game is the same price on Epic it would cost on Steam. The only thing you need is an email address, a password, and a debit card or bank account to buy it, which is what you need on Steam. It's an inconvenience that people don't wanna deal with, and the great thing about it is because it's competition and free market capitalism, you don't have to buy the game, which a lot of people don't. They go, "I don't wanna buy a game on Epic." Then don't, and they don't, which is perfectly alright.
I've
Yeah.
got a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth with one of these game companies. I won't call them by name, but
Why not?
it would be hard to figure out who it is. They, from what I was told, I can't prove this. What I was told is they worked out a deal with Wake Technical Community College where they would create a game development course over there, a 2-year degree in game development. And they said that if anyone who completes it, there's a 100% chance of getting hired. My son went 75% of the way through it and nobody was getting hired, so he quit.
I'm
Hmm.
sure it was Epic if it was
Well,
local.
I don't know that. I mean, I
Yeah.
think it probably was, but I can't say that.
Yeah.
But I thought that was pretty disgusting. I mean,
Yeah.
all education is good. I'm confident that whatever he did, whether it's discipline, whether it is how to learn, whether it was technical skills, anything that you learn, you will benefit from your whole life. As Nick so well knows, and Amnon ought to know, I am a major advocate of education. If you go to school to become an auto mechanic and never pick up a wrench, you will benefit from the process. But having said that, whenever you're young and trying to get ahead and then get a start on life, and then you waste a year and a half, that's pretty bad.
Agree.
The thing, what comes to mind, some to compare it to, I want to finish the kitchen. I want to redo everything. So I start doing it myself, and it's just, it's just not getting there. Here comes a contractor and says, "Hey, Amnon, you know what? I'll do everything. Here, I'll give you the money, and you pay me." I mean, in a way, but we'll come here and we'll do everything. And but what I want is that for the first year, I can come in the kitchen every morning and get the first cup of coffee from you.
Works for me,
Yeah.
as long as does it before I get up.
Yeah, I mean,
So
that's the thing is it's not I don't
Well,
wanna belabor this too much. I know it's probably of no
yeah,
interest to our
yeah.
audience
Well,
here, but I just I find it fascinating because I think as a consumer that all the now there are bad situations in which a game there's always a bad situation. Somebody's always screwing somebody, but in the general sense, we almost always end up better as consumers when there's competition. And
sure.
Amnon,
so
I've
that's just
cut
the
you
case.
off. What's the rest of that story?
The what?
What is the rest of that story? I mean, that nobody's gonna wanna come in your kitchen every morning to get the first cup of coffee. What's
Well, I
the
mean, that's the no, no. I mean, if that's kind of the same thing that Epic is doing, is saying, okay, we'll give you the money, but we want a year of exclusivity to sell it. And it makes all the sense in the world,
well,
Agreed.
because
I
if
don't
you
agree.
if you can develop a product, Mike, and you're not there yet, but it's a good product and you know it, and let's say Amazon comes to you and says, "Hey, Mike, here is $500,000. Finish what you have to do, but we want exclusivity to sell it only on Amazon for a year." So,
I'd say it's okay for 10 years.
yeah, well, yeah, but they only ask for a year, which is
In a
nice.
lot of cases, yeah.
Why
Yeah.
would they do that? I mean, I don't understand. It makes no sense at all to me. Why? And it's part of the game industry I don't understand, but why would a company put up its money? I mean, I can make one silly argument, but why would a company put up its money to finish or fund the development of a product and only have excuse me, only have an exclusive on it for 1 year. I mean, if I'm the company, I'm going to have a perpetual exclusive on it. What's
But
the argument against a company having a perpetual exclusive on a product, Nick?
there's not an argument against it, but uh, in the case of a video game, most of your sales are coming in the first year anyway, and I don't think I don't know, that just seems to be the deal. 1 year or 2-year exclusivity on games, and then it goes out to the rest of the marketplace. No, I don't know why, I'm not in it. But that is the standard, so there's a
Well,
reason for that standard. Developers must not be interested in signing a full-term exclusivity deal. I don't
if
know
you
why.
go record a CD and wanna hold on to the rights for 75 years, you can do it.
Yeah. I don't know why that is, but that seems to be the norm. Not and it's not just small studios, that's big and small studios alike seem to do year exclusivity deals,
Yeah.
2-year exclusivity deals. So,
Okay.
yes, sorry about the derailment, but
That's that's epic,
yep,
and they're local.
watch and
By
fetch
the
a
way,
podcast.
Yep.
Amnon, do you see Epic doing anything in community involvement?
I don't look at them, so I have
But
no
you read
earthly
the
idea.
internet, you see BNI and things like that. Do you ever hear their name mentioned? The reason I
Mm,
say that is just case in point to Nick. They could have moved out of they're in Cary. They could have moved out of town 5 years ago, and I wouldn't have known it. I haven't heard their name mentioned in 5 years.
Now, doing things locally, I'm not sure about, but in terms of community involvement inside of the technology community, they have shelled out tens of millions of dollars to open source projects over the past couple months to help like a Blender. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No,
It's an open source 3D modeling software. They just gave them over $2.5 million, donated $2.5 million to them for some stuff. So I don't know if I don't know what they're doing in Cary, but they they absolutely now they don't get me wrong. They made what $5 billion
I don't
last
know.
year profit, something like that. Copious amounts of cash.
they provide jobs. They're
They
doing
provide
No,
something.
good.
look, I'm not bad mouthing them. Don't take me wrong. I
No,
mean, I
Yeah.
don't want somebody to hear this show and send me an email saying, "Why are you dogging on us? We did this, that." I'm asking, have you heard it?
no.
I'm only saying it in this regard because back in the old days, for example, in Rochester, New York, if you mention the word Kodak, you'd have to be in a coma not to know who they are and what they do for the community. If you were to mention their name here in Cary now, I don't believe anybody but the kids would know who they are. And that's because, not because of their community involvement, but because of their success in the marketplace.
Yeah.
That's all I'm asking. It just seems to me like if you go to a Pop Warner football game, there should be uniforms out there with their name on the back of it. Whenever you go to a high school football game, when you see these useless banners all around the fences, they should have and they may. I'm not saying they don't. I'm
Yeah.
just saying that whatever circles I'm in, I just never see their name. I mean, I mean it in a way that if I were to go to work there, and this is something I actually studied about 20 years ago and have watched over time and believe it to be valid. That if I were to go to work there and they'd say, "All right, you're new here. We need fresh blood. We need ideas for the company. What would you suggest?" And I'd say I would appropriate about $1 million a year and going out and figure out a ways to spend it in the community because, and I was actually challenging a guy on that about 20 years ago. I said, why would a company want to do that? Why does a company care if a parent at a football game who never will use the company's product would? Why do you care if they know who they are? And I actually had a lawyer who was there, and he told me, he said, Mike, I'm going to tell you something. He said, if your company ever gets in trouble where it requires adjudication by local people, such as going to court with a local jury, which they typically are, or if you have a crisis where you need community to help you, I'll make this up, not accurate, bail water. I don't know where you actually would interface with the community. He said that community involvement, respect, and recognition can be worth many times what it ever cost you. He said, I would always advise companies to very tightly integrate with their local environment, not for necessarily just the beneficial to them reasons, but for selfish reasons.
Yeah, and like
I'm
you
just
said,
always
Mike, they may be
They
doing it,
may
and we
do
don't
that.
know, and we don't know.
I am not
Let
dogging on them, I'm not
Yeah,
criticizing
yeah,
them.
I
I'm
know,
just
I know,
saying
I know
that
you're asking. Yeah.
whatever they're doing, we're not in the same circles, and I do pay attention to business and triangle.
Alright, so if you travel and you're in business, listen to this. The US Federal Aviation Administration has banned select MacBook Pro laptops on flights after Apple recently said that some units had batteries that posed a fire risk. In a statement, the FAA said it was aware of the recalled batteries that are used in some Apple MacBooks Pro laptops and stated that it alerted major US airlines about the recall. So if you have a MacBook Pro, um, you need to call ahead if you're traveling with it and find out if they'll let you on the plane with it.
Better yet, just throw it in the trash and go get a real computer.
I've got an interest. So, like, normally, let's say you went through TSA and you had a pocket knife in your backpack
Right.
by accident, right? TSA
Mhm.
would no, this is something that happens. TSA
I
would say,
know
T
Andrew went through TSA with a box cutter in his
yeah.
pocket.
So TSA says, "You can't take this." They confiscate the item and you go and you buy a new pocket knife for $30. What happens when you bring your laptop that is now all of a sudden what do you do? They just throw it away? You're talking
No,
about a
that's a good
13,
point.
14, 17, $2,100 computer.
No, they're not gonna throw it
Well,
away.
so how do you get it back?
You don't.
No, you
That
do, Mike. Yes, you do.
there's
I'll
not
Not
bet you.
T if you go through TSA, I have been told if you cannot take this on the airplane. I said, "What I do?" "You have to surrender it." And I said, "How do I get it back?" And they said, "You don't." Now, if that's changed, it has changed.
If it's a knife or a little thing, it's one thing. But if it's a laptop that costs a couple of $1,000s, I really highly doubt it.
Okay.
And
But you're
and
giving your opinion.
and listen to what it says. Um, uh, the FAA said we are aware of the recalled batteries that are used in some Apple MacBooks Pro laptops. Now, you are not a technician. You are not an engineer that knows which is what and how. So that's what I'm saying. If you're responsible, you call ahead. You probably had somebody that brought you to the airport. If they don't let you through, you say, "Wait a second, let me give it back to my wife. Let me give it back to my
Well, good luck with
colleague."
that when you're missing your flight.
Well, you may miss your flight, but
Yeah, and then, Apple needs to buy you a new ticket.
uh,
No, we actually had an event one time where
the
I do not remember what it was we had, and we couldn't take it with us, and I don't even know if they still have them. But back in those days, they had lockers. So we took whatever it was and put it in a locker. When we got back from the trip, we went to the locker and got it out.
Yeah.
I tried to take a soldering iron into the media room at the 2016 Republican National Convention, and the stupid Secret Service wouldn't let me take the soldering iron in because they didn't know what it was. So one of us had to walk almost a mile back to the car to put it in the car because I was not willing to throw it away.
Yeah, and if I don't know if anybody in the audience been to any of those. I mean, they sell these things that they confiscate, so to speak. If you don't give it to somebody, they take it and throw it, and
If
then
they
they have a
make it
sale.
to the senior run, yes.
Did anybody ever seen a laptop? I doubt it. It's probably all, $10 and $20 items,
Yeah.
and you say, that's fine, never mind.
I mean, Secret Service confiscated I had a pocket knife confiscated by Secret Service.
You criminal.
I didn't realize it went to the Trump
Oh,
rally.
no. Ignorance of the law is no
No, I know.
excuse.
I didn't realize it was on my key loop. Didn't even realize, or it wasn't a pocket knife, just a little multi-tool on my key ring. Didn't even realize it. They took
How
it.
much time did you do?
10 years. Just got
Well,
out.
see?
Been on
Mm.
probation. Couldn't leave the state.
Mm.
So, yeah, I mean, it happened. But again,
Yeah,
it
it
was like a
happens.
$10 thing. I bought it wherever. I mean, it wasn't a big deal.
Another piece of interesting information here. Many parents and grandparents will grumble about today's screen obsessed youth. Indeed, researchers find that millennials look at their phones more than 150 times a day. Half of
Hour.
them check their devices in the middle of the night. A third glances at them immediately after waking up. And yet, when all screens are accounted for, it is in fact older folks who seem most addicted.
Well, but there's a reason for that.
I understand. But let me finish here. According to Nielsen, a market research firm, Americans age 65 and over spend nearly 10 hours a day consuming media on their televisions, computers, and smartphones. That is 12% more than American age 35 to 49, and a third more than those age 18 to 34. The youngest cohort for whom Nielsen had his data is 18 to 34. American seniors spend an average of 7 hours and 30 minutes in front of the box, about as much as they did in 2015. They spent another 2 hours staring at their smartphones, a more than sevenfold increase from 4 years ago. So it's not just the young. Yeah, the young, because we see them doing all the time. So now, Mike, you said there
Well,
is a
for
reason
one,
for it. Of course,
that's a
there's a reason for it.
yeah, well, for one thing, you look at the first thing I was gonna say that when they look at it first thing in the morning, you wanna see if what stupid things your kids have done during the night, see if anybody's in jail or
Mm.
anything like in the hospital or anything like that. But, the point was that that lumped if I heard you say this correctly, it lumped all screens together,
Yeah,
including TV.
correct.
Okay. Well, older folk, that's kinda like saying older folk are the worst drug addicts because to a person, people over 60 take more drugs than people under 60. The difference is they're prescribed by a doctor to solve a problem instead of a recreational aspect of it. So the statistics are what is it? There are 3 problems they're lies, damn lies, and statistics. But
Right.
so the other side of this now, a survey like that that said how much time is spent looking at the screen on your cell phone, that might be an interesting statistic. But screens altogether, I mean, there's still a few people, for example, who still watch CNN. Back in the old days, we used to turn on CNN whenever it didn't pollute the environment and let it just stay on all day long. And that would count as watching it all day when nobody really sat there watching it. It was on in case something happened and you would watch over or walk over and look at it. Now it's all hate and you leave it on and it'll actually kill your plants. So, I mean, it's those statistics need a little qualification.
Well, but it's just an interesting piece of statistics. If we,
Well, it's interesting
it's
that the moon
interesting.
is not made out of cheese,
Yeah.
but what difference does it make?
Oh, difference? I don't know. I just maybe you look at those
I just would
kids.
like to see, and what I'm saying here, Amnon, is when you see these kind of statistics and surveys and things, you need to dig a little deeper to find out what it is that's trying to be said. I mean, I
Mm,
you'll never convince me, and I could be wrong, but you will never convince me that old people look at their cell phones as much as young people do.
no, not at the cell phone.
Right. And that's kinda
Right.
what's being suggested by quote
They're
unquote
they're
trend.
talking about screen time.
You even if you took
So
TV out of that, it would be an interesting statistics, but TV I mean, Nick, I don't know, Nick is not a good example because, he does other things with computers for business purposes and for gaming and so forth, but if for most people I know a lot of people including, for example, my wife now uses an iPad 95% of the time. She hates going to grab a computer to get it to look up something. Is that iPad a screen? If it is,
mhm.
then she keeps that iPad right beside her. If she wants to see what time a TV show comes on, she grabs her iPad and punches it in. She won't even do the guide on the TV most of the time. because it's easier to find on the iPad. You want to know how to properly spell a word? Pick up your iPad, type in the closest spelling you can think of. It'll give you the correct spelling. Young people could care less about spelling. So it's different uses. And uh, I see, it still amazes me. I'm a tech guy. I'm not the tech guy, but I am a tech guy. And it still amazes me how many people, including older people, depend on their phones now instead of computers. There are so many things that I cannot do on, or I can, but I will not do on my phone, that I'll ask Nick. I said, Nick, how about changing the password here? Okay. And he does it on his phone. I wouldn't waste my time. I'm going to go to a computer and do it.
Yeah, that's kinda, I mean, I think that's what, especially being a tech person, that's, I think, what makes, what I'm gonna use me as an example, as you did, dynamic abilities with that stuff. I mean, with the working with the radio station, I mean, I could fix most problems that arise from my phone. That's not something that's not something, at least most engineers aren't doing that, absolutely not.
I had to log in through remote desktop. I don't know even know where I was. Yes, I do. I know exactly where I was. I was at my in-law's farm a couple of 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, whenever it was. And I had to, I know what it was. A guy that I host email for, he could not, he could not get his email. Well, I knew what it was, and that is his pop account had filled up. For some reason, his client is not set to remove read messages. What I had to do was, of course, I don't remember the password, so I had to use my phone to log into my one of my home computers, access the server, go into his email account and delete email that was over a month old. Problem solved. Boy, was that painful and take a long time.
Yeah, that's where I strive.
Yeah, you can use it as a tool, and if the tool is available, I mean, it can you can say that a lot of people are in the last 20 years are using more and more cordless drills. Well, before that, they weren't there.
When's the last time you've seen anyone buy
So,
a drill with a cord on it?
Friday,
Who?
a mechanic at Harbor Freight. Yeah,
That
there's a
that
lot of
wasn't a
reasons
drill.
to
That
do
was
that.
like a drill.
Well, but anyway, so this is the talk now. So don't blame just the little kids. If you're an older person, look at yourself. And when you look at yourself, then I said, yeah, I watched a couple of hours of TV, and I have my computer, and I have my phone. Well, yeah, I use it pretty much, but it's not it's not like you're addictive.
Well, I will
Anyway,
tell you that it's young and old people alike who are absolutely spending too much time texting on their phones while they're driving. I mean, I always think about
well,
this
let's
hot
not get
shot.
into that. Yeah, there's a
Well, I
lot
won't
of
get into it.
yeah, there's a
But
lot of stuff.
and
Absolutely.
well, there's this hot shot out in LA who got a brand new Corvette, and whenever he was apparently texting because he wasn't paying attention, he rear-ended a tractor trailer truck that had
Mhm.
a bar under the end of it. When it did, on that low Corvette he had, it went across the top of it, decapitated him, and when they found him, he still had his phone in his hand.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it brings up a lot of things that are negative, and on the other side, there is some positive to what people are doing.
Like what?
I'm not getting into it. If you're an Android user, you can now sign into some of Google's services using your fingerprint
Oh boy.
rather than having to type in a password. This is from last week, so they said the feature is available starting today for some Android phones, and it will be rolling out to all phones running Android 7 or later over the next few days. This is from The Verge. According to Google help page, the feature also allows you to log in using whichever method you have set up to unlock your phone. which can include pins and pattern unlock. Um, that's interesting how they're going to do the fingerprint without the phone having the what do you call it? The biometric thing.
How are they gonna do that?
I don't know. The only thing they can do is have something on the screen that you would scan it. I mean, the
Well,
hit.
yeah, I mean, there's plenty of phones now that don't have the fit. I mean, there's a whole bunch
Oh,
of different ways to do touch fingerprints on phones.
okay. So I guess that's how they're going to do it.
Well, if you look at like the One Plus, um, the fingerprint reader is embedded into the LCD.
But is it just a projection of a finger reader, or there's actually
Um,
something hardware underneath?
I mean, there's got to be.
I don't
I
know.
don't know how they do it, but it's. I mean, there's like unlike my iPhone, where there's an actual fingerprint. There's a little divot where
Right.
you put your thumb. There's a whole bunch of Android phones now that don't have that, and it's embedded into the screen. It's a certain part of the screen, but when you put your thumb over it, it acts as the fingerprint scan.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because
I mean,
not
I
all
think the phone Gall uses has that. Yeah, I know he's not here today, but I'm pretty sure the phone he has uses that technology.
um I don't keep up with versions of Android. What is Android 7?
I
I
couldn't
don't
tell
know
you.
when how old that is. If anybody in the chat, uh,
Couldn't tell you.
Tommy says they use magic.
Yeah, yeah, that's also another that's a theory that I like to go with too.
Yep, they use magic.
Yeah.
Um, let's see what else. Here's something that I mean, come on, where do we stop? Samsung has announced a new image sensor for phones that breaks record.
Oh,
Built in partnership with Xiaomi, the new Samsung ISOCELL Bright HMX is the world's first mobile image sensor that goes beyond 100 million pixels, 100 megapixels. It's 108, actually. For what?
depends on what they sell these big Samsung does these big stadium and arena screens as well.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where you would look at something like that being of use. Times Square.
Yeah, but in a phone.
No, for a phone?
Yeah, it's a new
Hmm,
image sensor for phones.
interesting. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I can see stuff like this for big
Hmm,
venue. Absolutely.
then I don't know.
It's amazing. Yup.
Um, I've got a story,
Yeah.
something we discussed, a little bit yesterday. The a couple of weeks ago, well, past couple of weeks, so we've talked about, a couple governments in Florida and a couple more in Georgia,
Yep.
where whole city governments or whole, county governments have been pretty much come to a even police departments, EMS, fire have come to a grinding halt due to ransomware attacks. Well, there's now a string of governments in the state of Texas, and Amnon, the number is now up to 23 local government entities. So I imagine these are small towns, but nevertheless, small government entities, 23 of them said that they were attacked on Friday morning, and they are now offline as they deal with
Getting
they're
back.
dealing with these ransomware attacks. Now, the fact that these were all small governments and the Department of Information Resources says it came from a single threat actor. They were all using one piece of either hardware or software that had some sort of exploit that allowed all of these governments to get compromised. So um, it's interesting to see that it's now probably 30 or 5 or 40 towns just this year,
Mhm.
governments, towns, cities that have been compromised. So, pretty interesting.
Yep. And it's just you know, it's only going to go get worse and worse and worse.
Well, you said something to me yesterday when we were chatting about this. You said, why don't these people learn and understand? And I said, well, hold on. So you're the boss and I'm the, stupid tech guy. And I say, okay, our government entity is prone to getting attacked. And I say, I need 120 or $150,000 to either buy new hardware or have backup hardware or whatever. And you're going to say, hope we don't get hacked, and continue drinking your coffee and move your way down the hallway. I mean, that's just the
Yeah,
reality of
yeah.
it is in a lot of these smaller municipalities, you've got people making decisions that frankly don't know what they're talking about when it comes to technology, or the money is just not there. Now, there's best practices you can follow, and I'm sure some of that isn't being followed in all of these municipalities.
Mhm.
But to do a full overhaul of a full, I guess, audit and then the full risk mitigation or risk management on your whole local city government is not a cheap process. It could cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. And for little old small towns in Texas and Georgia, Florida, North Carolina, wherever, it's just not worth it. They can't justify it until they get compromised and then all their stuff's gone.
Yeah, and then suddenly
But their
the money
insurance
comes
will
from.
handle that. See, there's the big difference. In a lot of the cases, this towns or cities insurance will handle this. I don't know if they'll handle. They probably don't handle pre-exploit security costs, though, which
Right.
is stupid from a insurance company standpoint. But they probably don't.
That
So
this is the same, because of insurance. I mean, if you have a tree that's hanging over your house and you know that sooner or later that limb is gonna come down, the insurance will not help you take it down,
nope.
but if it falls, they'll pay to fix the roof.
Yeah, it's funny. That's how
Uh,
insurance works. I don't know.
oh,
Hey, Gal.
Hello,
hey, guys.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good
Sorry for
morning.
joining late. Good morning.
Unacceptable, but fine.
I hope you have a
Well,
note.
I can bring one from my wife.
Okay.
That's funny. So
how was your trip?
It was nice. It was nice.
Where'd you go?
We went to Vegas.
Oh, I love Vegas, man. Let me tell you. What'd you do out in Vegas? Anything exciting?
No, nothing. That was the idea of relaxing, doing absolutely nothing.
Nice.
Yeah, that wasn't good. Yeah, uh, just stayed by the pool, ate good food, went to see a show, stuff like that.
Did you win any money?
No, I don't gamble.
Really? You went to Vegas and you didn't gamble?
Yeah, I don't go.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive. Not even a dollar in a machine.
No.
Damn.
I know
Well,
how these machines work. No way.
That's the fun of it. What are you talking about?
There's no fun in it. I see it.
Well,
I see all these machines and they look like pillars of misery.
you're really deflating my balloon this morning, Gal. I don't
I'm
appreciate
sorry,
it.
man.
Well, I'm glad
So,
you had a good time.
Gal, we were talking earlier, and I was asking a question. I have no idea the answer. What is uh Android 7? How old is that?
But that's old.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've been, I think the past couple of years, we've been with 8 and 9.
Okay.
And I think the next one, I don't know if it's numbered 10 already, but it's already almost out there or something.
Well, I was reading a story about the fact that you can now, as of last week, some phones you can log into your Google account with fingerprints, and it's going to be rolled to all the phones.
Mhm.
and we were talking about how do they do it? How do they take any phone that runs 7 or later
Hmm.
can do it, and I mean, Nick was saying Gal, I think, is using it, and
Well, I said
so
using a phone that doesn't have a physical fingerprint scanner, but one built into the screen.
Oh, yeah, my son has that, yeah.
Yeah. It's
so
interesting.
do you know if that is an actual fingerprint reader that is under the screen, or is it just an app that reads it?
No, of course, there needs to be some sort of input there. Uh, I think I'll go back and search
All right.
for the
Yeah,
article,
it's interesting.
but it seems to me what they're saying is any phone with a fingerprint reader uh, that
The
has 770 will support. What you can't do with fingerprints today, you cannot log into the Google account.
Well, I mean, this is a new thing that they're doing. They announced it last week, and it says if you're an Android user, you can now sign into some of Google's services using
So
your
it's about
fingerprint.
the Google services, about the applications that Google supply
Uh,
on the Android. Today, you cannot utilize fingerprint to log into those. Let's
okay,
say a
okay.
bank account application.
Mhm.
Today, most of the bank account application allows you to log in with the fingerprint. All that means is that the app has has an encrypted storage where it keeps the credentials, the password, the username, and the password, and by pressing with the fingerprint, it unlocks those credentials and uses them.
Okay,
So the reason a company like Google, even though they supply the technology for the other apps, haven't used it yet is because they need to be 100% certain that hacking it is next to impossible, because then the accounts, the Google accounts, will be compromised, and by compromising the Google account, they compromise the entire phone, right?
okay,
So by rolling it to 7 onwards, they're actually not rolling it to the OS. They're rolling it to the applications. So it'll be an application update. Let's say Gmail, right? Um, I I really don't see where I would use it though in any of their applications. I'd rather open the application and have it working as long as my phone is already unlocked. The fact that I unlocked my phone should be enough. Uh, but yeah, there are those who want additional layers of security. So it.
okay. Uh, good info. Um, According to the Wall Street Journal, Verizon has agreed to sell its blogging website Tumblr
Oh, thank God.
to the owner of popular online publishing tool. Who, Nick?
Oh, crap. I know this. I read this. They sold it to hold on.
WordPress.
Oh, no, I didn't know they sold it to
Yep.
WordPress.
Tumblr was acquired by Yahoo for 1.1 billion in 2013 and was later included in Verizon's 4.5 billion purchase of Yahoo's web assets in 2017. So they are selling it to the owner of uh the online publishing tool WordPress.
I didn't read that actually. I saw that they got
Yeah.
sold. I thought it was to another big company. I didn't realize it
Well,
was
it's a different
WordPress.
name. I can't remember the name, but when you read it, they say something
Au-
corporation, some
Automatic.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
so
Less than 3 million.
Yeah, they've got Tumblr is well, and it's so weird because Tumblr is really not that well used anymore. They cracked down on a lot of the I'll say the things that made Tumblr popular and that
You care to elaborate?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing with Tumblr, there was a lot of porn and whatnot
Yeah.
on Tumblr. That's what made it very popular. And
Mhm.
then when after Verizon bought it, they shut all that stuff down. I'm not giving a doesn't matter what they did or didn't. Nevertheless, they shut it up. They made a lot of that stuff not allowed on the platform, which for a lot of the platform de- destroyed the point of the platform. So a lot of people just stopped using it. I don't think it's very popular anymore, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. So now there's gonna be a plugin.
I just it's transferred it's transferred hands now 3 times. Yahoo, as they do with every service, did absolutely nothing with it.
Right.
Um, Verizon did absolutely nothing with it. I don't know what it's worth. I mean, it's a URL, it's got a big user base, but the user base is a bunch of freaking weird online alt accounts that people use to access service and post memes. I just I don't see what the value is to any of these companies.
I don't know. Who knows what these guys are planning to do with it.
Yeah, well, nobody's done anything with it. That's what's so interesting. So maybe now they'll bring Tumblr back to life.
Oh.
Then next we'll get Vine back. That really destroyed a lot of things.
Alright.
Well, you have TikTok.
Oh yeah, what is TikTok like Vine? Never used
Sort
it.
of.
Yeah,
Sort
never
of.
used it.
I looked, yeah, because of all of the ads, I checked it out once. It's similar to Vine. It has a very limited time span for a video, and what I don't really know is whether it forces you or just encourages you to put on another soundtrack on what you're
Yeah.
posting. So, and it is creative. When you start looking through it, it really reminds Vibe in the way Vine, sorry, in the way it's the short clips, the creativity that people need to come up with, telling a story in 5 to 6, 7 seconds, and with the add-on of the soundtrack, which I think because they limit it to a very short period of time, they're probably limitless in what they can slap on without
Mm.
infringing. So it's nice.
Gal, I've got to make a confession to you.
Uh-oh.
While you were gone last week, I spent all your money. Um, I I installed WhatsApp and am using it to communicate with somebody from the United Kingdom. And I'll tell you
Woohoo!
what, it was a very seamless process. I didn't realize it used a cell phone number
Yeah,
instead of a username.
yeah. It
Um,
means that we can probably communicate immediately. It's not like the moment you have a number, you can communicate with the other side.
yeah, well, he had a number and I had a
Yeah,
number, so I typed in well, I don't know what the country code was. The country code plus
44.
the 44 plus the
40.
phone number,
Yeah.
and it showed up like a regular, phone, text message.
Right.
Now, obviously, I don't like the fact that it's not incorporated into the operating system, but yeah, I so now, man, I've turned into, now I use Signal and WhatsApp and everything
Well,
else.
you
I'm
see,
a
but
hotshot communicator.
that's the problem. WhatsApp is like yesterday's news.
Yeah, hey, this is my MO. Let's get to the game 9 years late, and, I'm all in now.
No, so what I mean by that is the better solution, right? If you're just starting, and maybe that includes your partner on the other end,
Mhm.
is use Signal.
Yeah, he didn't have Signal, so we used
Yeah.
WhatsApp.
So the reason is WhatsApp, they basically use Signal's technology
Yeah.
behind the scene, but Signal is the open source, open solution, non-profit one. So it's the Firefox version of Chrome, right? So
Brian says he uses WhatsApp to talk to his family in Papua New Guinea. Yeah, I've always known it's popular. I've just never had a reason to use it. Everybody I've always messaged has been in the United States, and that's just not a problem. But now that I need to.
well, it's more than that. Everybody in the United States that you communicate with usually has iMessage,
No,
or you're
yeah.
okay with texting them.
Yeah, which is but it's all incorporate. I've never not been able to send somebody a message in the United States because there's a compatibility issue between carriers. So there's just never been a reason to use.
Right.
And
So
I've never traveled out of the country, so I've never had to use and every time I've not had cell phone service, like during the hurricane, I used Facebook's Messenger, which is for all intents and purposes WhatsApp or Signal. It's just a
right.
instant messaging service. So yeah, I'm a hot shot now using WhatsApp. Add me.
So I
Hey, what's
don't
up?
know
You eat a carrot?
What?
You eat a
what's
carrot
up,
while you
Doc.
go?
Yes.
What's up, Doc?
Man, what's up?
Um, with the main difference between WhatsApp and Signal, at least on the Android, I don't know if it's true for the iPhone. On the Android, it can replace your SMS client as well. So
Yeah, it
then you
doesn't
have
do.
Signal and SMS in one single app, similar to what iMessage does for Apple. So
What
that
I
will
what I don't like about WhatsApp on iOS is that to rename a conversation, you have to add somebody as a contact. In the
rename a
So, like,
conversation.
I was messaging this guy, I've got his cell phone number. I'm not sending him a text message, I'm using WhatsApp. I had to create a phone contact to name the conversation his name.
Oh, right. It doesn't have a contact of its own,
Well,
but
which
that's
is
not true.
annoying. Oh,
Well,
okay.
that's not true. You can create a group.
Well, yeah, but it's just one person.
You can still create a group with one person.
Oh, yeah,
So you can have multiple group chats with that person, for
yeah.
example. It's possible.
And the reason I find that annoying, like on Signal, I believe I've got you as a contact. I think Signals, I was able to
Signal
name
does
you.
the same.
Yeah, but I've got your name on Signal, and I don't know how. Your name is just Gall, and I don't think that's a phone contact.
I think you added a phone contact. I don't think there's another way. But
No,
why?
Signal's got their own contacts, it looks like.
Oh, maybe on Apple.
Yeah.
Maybe on Apple. On Android, it's the same.
But on the only reason that's frustrating for me is now when I look through my contact list, I see him, but I can't message him and I can't call him. Well, I mean, I could call him, but that I wouldn't want to. That's what's annoying to me about it. But I guess if you're using WhatsApp to communicate with people sometimes and using text message others, it works out. I find it a bit annoying. I don't like that. I
So
wish I could
no,
keep it
no.
contained.
Let me understand this. From your contact list,
Yes.
you cannot say I want to WhatsApp him.
No, I can send a message, share contact, and send a message is gonna open up iMessage because you can't change the default text messaging.
So that's limitation that
Well, of
Apple
course,
put
it's a
on the
limitation to Apple,
application.
but
Yeah.
I mean, that's more than half the damn phone marketplace. So I mean, that just needs to be. I just wish there was self-contained contact, or not contacts. Just name a conversation without creating a group. That's all.
Well, I mean, you can do it from. That's the thing. So you're complaining about the core, uh, the core infrastructure of WhatsApp, right? Which works best for everybody using WhatsApp. But because you are on the golden cage of Apple, right? You're in the golden cage of Apple, right? So you're complaining.
No, I'm not complaining
That
about Apple.
you are, because the way it works in every other phone, right, is you go to the contact, you see the user, and you see that you have a WhatsApp contact, and you just choose the way to communicate with them, whether
Hmm.
through WhatsApp or through anything else. I want to video phone someone. I go to my regular contacts list. I see him. I have three icons for WhatsApp, one for video, one for a audio
Interesting.
call, and one for a message. And it's from the contact list.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
integrated to the phone.
okay, fine. But me being in the golden cage of Apple is also where hundreds of millions of other users are too. So I
But
wish there was
as
some
you
sort of
said,
I
but
just
as
wish
you
there was
said,
some
not
sort of
those
compatibility version.
right. But as you said, it's not those who use WhatsApp.
No, my point is it's not like this is not an odd use case. Somebody on an iPhone using WhatsApp. That's all I'm saying. I mean, it's not gonna make me not use the app. I'm just telling you it was frustrating for me because now I scroll through my contacts list and here's somebody that I cannot text, cannot call or cannot video message with except talk on WhatsApp. I don't know. I mean, there's
Well, you can search your contacts, your contact list
Mhm.
within WhatsApp.
Yeah, and then that's what it did.
Right.
Yeah. So that was all. It's a minor inconvenience. That's all.
Well, to me, it sounds like a flat earther saying, I don't get what you people
It's
think
not that
the
it's
world is
not that I
round.
don't get. I'm just telling you from the vantage point of an iPhone, which where people you have
Well, I
millions of
agree.
users using iPhones, but it's not like I'm using some one-off weird ass phone. You've got hundreds of millions of users using WhatsApp on iPhone, and there just
You
doesn't seem to
have
be
them.
any sort. Yeah, and I'm just telling you from my vantage point, there doesn't seem to be any. There's some sort. Obviously, the compatibility issue is because Apple locks their infrastructure out. So if it's such a big deal for people, which clearly it's not, I would expect WhatsApp to have some sort of solution for it.
I mean,
I ju
the solution basically works, right?
Yeah, it does, and it works fine,
And
it's
the
just frustrating.
reason, no, I'm talking about works and their customer base likes it. And the reason I'm saying that, right, is you're saying, hey, these Apple folks, they need to go through hoops when it comes to WhatsApp. And I say, yeah, but most of them don't use it.
Oh, yeah, well,
Most
okay,
of the
yeah,
Apple users don't use it, right?
yeah,
Because
they use
they're hooked up on
iMessage.
iMessage,
Mhm,
right?
yeah,
So just because Apple clamped down on their systems, right, and made it harder for the WhatsApp crowd, or more confusing for the WhatsApp crowd to use it on iPhone, right? For the rest of the WhatsApp users, which are the majority for them, it
yeah,
works.
this is where you and I are totally disagreeing. If WhatsApp could make something for the iOS version that would make it more compatible for those users, that's what I'm saying. So
But
and
that's the thing, that it'll break their model completely.
why would it break their model completely?
They're
If
tying
they gave you an option to rename a conversation without making a contact, that would break their ecosystem on iOS. If they allowed me to just instead of having the phone number show up, I could just put a name, not a contact, just a name. I'm not looking to make a contact.
So
Just
they're not
rename.
looking. First of all, um,
I don't see how that would break the ecosystem of
first of
WhatsApp.
all, every contact, every number is
Yeah.
assigned a username, right? So
Where? On WhatsApp?
yeah, when you set it up, you set up how you want to appear, and
I
that
don't
is,
remember that. Hmm.
yeah, and that's the way you appear to somebody who doesn't have a contact. So there's the contact number. It'll still show the contact number, but when you
Yep.
go to the information, it'll have that little piece of information in it.
Hmm.
So it's still going by the number because it wants you to create the contact.
Of
It
course.
doesn't want to manage any contact list. The platform doesn't want to manage that, because the moment they start managing that, then you'll need a way to sync it. Then it becomes a lot more complex. They want to focus on the conversation, and they're doing that well, right? So they're taking that out of the equation. They're not managing your contact list. They're using your existing contact list the same way iMessage does, right?
They're keeping it
And
simple.
yeah, they're keeping it simple that way. When it comes to iPhone, right? They say, hey, you want to focus on WhatsApp, use WhatsApp. You want to focus on something else, use something else. But the fact that your manufacturer is blocking you from making it easy for you, that's not on WhatsApp. They simplified everything.
I'm
Your
not saying
contacts
it.
are already there.
I'm not saying it's on WhatsApp. I'm just telling you from the iOS, and I understand how it works in the Android. Frankly, I don't really care how it works on Android because
Right.
that's not the
Because
ecosystem
you're not using.
that I'm
Yeah.
not using. But I'm just telling you as a iOS user of WhatsApp, the whole contact thing is a little convoluted. That's all. That's all. I'm not saying
No,
it's
I
bad. I'm
agree.
not saying I'm not going to use the app. It's just kind of annoying.
I agree.
So I mean that's all. It's not a earth shattering thing. It's just
Have you
something that's
used
annoying.
the web view?
I didn't know there was a web view.
Oh yeah. So that's probably the coolest thing about it is you can use WhatsApp from your computer.
How do I log in? Scan it with the QR code.
Yeah. So you go to whatsapp.com and you launch up your phone. Your phone needs to be on. Everything is happening through your phone,
Yeah. Okay.
but you get an interface on your web browser and only on one web browser. So if you move to another place and you log in there, right, then that's the place that's logged in. So it's there's no multiple points where you can, and you can log off everything in immediately. It's
Oh, I
very
see that.
convenient
Yeah.
and very, very convenient and very, very and still secure.
So I can send you a message hypothetically from here. Okay.
Yep. And I got it, and it's on my PC.
Hmm.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah. Interesting.
All right.
Sorry. I don't know.
It's okay.
Sorry, I'm not.
I mean, no. I mean, are you done with the?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so.
Are you ready for your specials?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, we've had a lot of privacy concerns as of late, and Where's Waldo is a little perplexed that Google wants to know his location data. Kind of defeats the entire purpose. All right, let's start it off today at Best Buy. They've got a Dell Inspiron desktop. It's got an i5 processor, 12 gigabytes of memory, and a 256 gigabyte solid state drive for $249.99. Save $130 on that. Over at Office Depot, here's a Lenovo Idea Center 510A. It's got 8 gigabytes of memory plus 16 gigabytes of Optane, which acts as kind of a buffer between your hard drive and the computer. And unfortunately, a 1 terabyte hard drive. But because this is a computer case, it's a desktop, and because it's got Optane, it's probably fine. But obviously, you could throw in a terabyte, half a terabyte SSD in there and be off to the races. $469.99, save $150 on that over at Office Depot. Again at Office Depot, here's a Dell. Lots of Dells this week. A Dell Inspiron, which are their laptops. This one has got a 15.6-inch screen, 8 gigabytes of memory, a 256 gigabyte solid state drive with an i7 for $599.99. Save $200 on that over at Office Depot. Here's a Lenovo i5 with this is a pretty good. This is a really if you were looking at this wholesale flyer and said I need a computer today, this would probably be the best bang for your buck right here. The Lenovo S340. It's $420. It's got 8 gigabytes of memory, a 256 gigabyte SSD with an i5 processor in it. Normally this is $700, so this is a pretty good price. Save $280 on that over at Staples. That's probably going to be your best bargain today for a mid-range computer over at Staples. If you're looking for an all-in-one, this has got the last gen AMD. I assume they're just trying to get rid of these, so this may be why there's a little bit of a price cut. It's an AMD A9 with 8 gigabytes of memory and a 256 gigabyte SSD in it. It's not the Ryzen series, so be aware of that for $579.99. It's an all-in-one, comes with the keyboard and mouse, saves $70 on that. And finally, for computers over at Staples, the Lenovo Flex 2-in-1 with an i5, 8 gigabytes of memory, and a 256 gigabyte SSD is on sale for $529.99. Save $270 on that. I like to see that almost all of these computers but one have an SSD in it, which is cool. All right, moving on down to a couple of gaming, either systems or peripherals that are available here. This is available at Best Buy. They seem to be the only one embracing gaming. An iBuy Power. You get an i7 9700F. It's got an RTX 2060, a 1 terabyte hard drive for your video games, a 240 gigabyte SSD for Windows, it's a couple of programs, and your documents and whatnot for $1,199. Save $100 on that. Here's I actually watched a video about this monitor the other day. This is the Acer XF270H, which is the 27-inch LED full HD FreeSync monitor from Acer. It's available at Best Buy for $229.99. Save $70 on that. And finally, in the gaming section, this is a sub $1,000 computer. So if you're looking for a gaming computer, and the reason it's so much cheaper is because it's running a Ryzen. It's got a Ryzen 7 2700X, 16 gigabytes of memory, an RTX 590 video card. Check this out: a 3 terabyte spinning drive for all of your games, movies, pictures, and whatever, and a 240. That should be terabyte, not F byte. Excuse me. Yes, 240 gigabyte, not an F byte. Not sure what that is. Over at Best Buy, and this is a pretty good price for a gaming computer. The RX 590 is not the greatest video card in the world, but for $1,000, that Ryzen 7 is on par with a lot of other is absolutely on par with its Intel competitors on the marketplace right now. So check that out over at Best Buy. $979.99. Save $150 on that.
And it comes with 240 Facebook friends.
Does it? Yeah, that's a pretty yes. Actually, that's a great idea. Facebook friends. Yeah, so you buy a whole bunch of these, satisfy all your Facebook needs. Couple of accessories. If you've got a computer that supports NVMe via PCIe, here it is. This is a 970 Evo, 250 gigabyte drive. It'll slide right in that slot for $75. Almost unbelievable how low these prices have come over the past couple of months. Very good price on that. Samsung's obviously one of the leaders in solid state storage, available $74.99. Here's a regular Acer monitor, 32-inch LED monitor. Nothing too special about it, but it's deeply discounted from last week. $179.99. Save $70 on that. That's available at Staples. If you want to try something, maybe a widescreen display, there's an LG 29-inch ultra-wide monitor. It's on sale for $199. Normally $200. It's normally $300, so you're saving $100 on that. That's available over at Office Depot. It's got FreeSync, and the size on it is 2560 by 1080. And it's got a VESA mount, so you can throw it on a wall mount or attach it to an arm or something like that over at Office Depot. Always, these things are good to have. Here's an APC backup, the 650 VA. This one will power your computer, a couple monitors, and maybe even your router modem if you've got that. For $59.99, save $17 on that. And finally, if we're talking about gaming hardware, here it is: the generic bonded leather gaming chair that everybody sells. They just put their own label on it. On sale for $119.99. Save $40 on that. Available at Office Depot, but it's not available in all stores, so call for availability. And that is specials. And Amnon, I know you were looking for a new chair. Maybe you need to upgrade to that.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to say, "Here, Amnon."
I mean, this could be you're over there putting like pipe clamps on your chair to keep it from the hydraulic from slipping. Maybe this is what you need: bonded leather gaming chair. So check it out.
Nice. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
919-518-9773. Computer Stuke Voice on Skype. And there was a story here that I was going to talk before, but James Wright had never worried about staying under his data cap. Then he bought a 4K TV set and started binge watching Netflix in ultra high definition. The picture quality was impressive, but it gobbled up so much bandwidth that his internet service provider, Comcast, warned that he had exceeded his monthly data limit and would need to pay more. The first month, I blew through the cap like it was nothing, he said, and he's 50 years old. With a 4K TV, it's not as hard to go through as you'd think. All that binging in Ultra HD video can carry a high price tag. As online viewing grows, more subscribers are having to pay up for faster speeds. Even then, they can run into data limits and overage fees. Some opt for an unlimited plan that can double the average $52 a month internet bill. Um, you almost think like, those guys did this for purpose. All these high uh, definition TVs. They knew they're going to make more money. What do you think?
I mean, I
The
don't.
chicken and the egg.
Well, it is, but I don't believe there's got to be something more to this story. I don't. Netflix has gone over this. The 4K streams are not that much more data than the 1080p, and also a lot of the content on Netflix isn't even available in 4K.
Okay, so that's all I'm reading here is what he's
No,
saying.
I'm not saying that.
That's,
but,
no. I understand what you're saying, and I don't know it. But if you said that there's not much difference in the data, in the bandwidth that it's using, then there must be something more to it.
No, it's still higher, but there
Yeah.
are compressions. They're using the 265
Yeah.
H.265 compression, which has given, like, let's say, with the previous H.264 compression, something that would take 40 gigabytes of data, with the 250 with the 265 compression, with the newer one, it can go less than 10, maybe 8. So I think that's what they're using. But I'm also guessing, I haven't used Netflix in a ton of time, that you can choose which compression rate for Netflix to use. And if he's using a smart TV, well, if he bought a 4K smart TV, then that would also already include 265.
All right,
There's a
is 4
situation where the application does not support the newer because of the CPU or something, because it's very CPU intensive to use 260 H265.
Okay,
A lot
Gal,
more.
is 4K considered the ultra high?
Yeah, 4K.
Okay.
That so the reason there is a distinction between 4K and ultra high definition is because some TVs market 4K not really as a 4K TV.
Okay, so what do they call the one on the 8K?
They probably have a new name for it. Yeah,
They didn't come up with a name. Maybe they're looking for a name. Well, I don't know. That's what that story was talking about, and I thought, I remember in the early days when people were saying, "I don't know, why are you doing just such low bandwidth? I mean, low bitrate streams?" And back then, most people did not have unlimited, and if they want to listen or watch it, and you put really high bitrate, it eats their data cap. So I decided we're going to keep it on the low side because they're not here to see the pupil of my eye. They're here to listen. And here's the same thing here. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with the current network. We don't have a 4K TV. What you see on the TV is great. Now, maybe it's what you don't know can't hurt you thing, and
it is.
You know what though? It's funny that you mentioned Netflix because and live streaming. Though, if you watch stuff on live streams on YouTube or Twitch, those guys are streaming at 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6. I think Twitch's limit is 5.5 megabits, and you can watch it in source, which would be, in fact, you would be streaming 5.5 megabits.
Yeah.
So that's the with Netflix. I mean, you must have to be watching content all day, every day in 4K to burn through your data cap because it's not that much bigger.
I'm reading here. Netflix estimates 7 gigabytes an hour. So for the 4K streams, I don't know how much of this can eat up your cap. So I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. But it's just interesting to see that
And
this.
and regular HD, they're talking about 3 gigabytes per hour. So this is from their page.
Let's.
They might be lying. I don't know.
No. Ring, Amazon's home security company, has encouraged people to form their own digital neighborhood watch
Right.
that report crime in exchange for free or discounted Ring products, according to an internal company slide presentation obtained by Motherboard. The slide presentation, which is titled Digital Neighborhood Watch, and was created in 2017, according to Ring, tells people that if they set up those groups, report all suspicious activity to police, and post endorsements of Ring products on social media, then they can get discount codes for Ring products and unspecified Ring swag. A Ring spokesperson said the program described in the slide presentation was rolled out in 2017 before Ring was acquired by Amazon. They said it was discontinued that same year. Uh, we don't have a Ring. I don't know if anybody here has a Ring. I'm wondering
Oh,
if
I have something else. My neighbor has the Ring.
I'm wondering if it's true that they discontinued that, because the title was that Ring is pinning neighbor against neighbor, kind of. You know,
I don't see how they're pinning neighbor against neighbor. I
well,
mean,
if you're gonna get benefits, swag, discounts, so every little thing that you may think, yeah, let me report it. Yeah, let me report that. Oh, they put the trash can 2 feet to the right. Little things just in order to get. It's greed, and it may lead you to report things that otherwise you would say, "Oh, there's nothing wrong with that." I don't know.
right. So I mean, I, I'm I'm not sure how the neighborhood community for those work, but I have seen a few footages that go out of it. When you report stuff, right?
Mhm.
It's like a social network. You can post it, or it either gets traction or not. And I'm guessing if it's just petty neighborhood, neighbor against neighbor, then there will be no traction. Nobody will actually, unless it's the neighbor that everybody hates, right? And I mean, that
Yeah, I see
doesn't
what you
happen
mean.
a lot, not anymore. So
Yeah,
the real, I know how it was used in this neighborhood, in our neighborhood. There were a few break-ins, and people who had Ring either on the house across from the place that was broken in, or it usually was a car theft, auto theft. So, um, or the moment you have automatic floodlights when there's movement,
mhm.
and you see the guy coming up to the car, then the lights flood up, and then he runs away. Stuff like that. That's what you see shared.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see a problem with it. I don't know what the
Well, they said that they don't do it anyway.
yeah. My main problem is that everything is controlled via streams that are stored outside of your home, right? And that's the whole model of Ring. You actually buy yearly storage from them if you want to keep everything. You Otherwise you get only a week worth or something like that. I bought a competitor which works pretty much the same way. I didn't buy any storage. It's the fact that the footage goes elsewhere,
Mm-hmm.
cringes me.
Yeah.
It's like
Yep.
I don't like that.
Yep. All right. Here is something that everybody should be aware of. This week's Windows updates fix critical wormable, the worm Bluekeep, flaws, but may also break Visual Basic apps, macros, and scripts. After installing this update, applications that were made using Visual Basic 6, VB6, macros using Visual Basic for Applications, which is VBA, and scripts or apps using Visual Basic Scripting Edition, VB may stop responding and you may receive an invalid procedure call error. This is from Microsoft. The issue affects all supported versions of Windows 10, 7, 8.1, and their corresponding server version. Microsoft is presently investigating this issue and will provide an update when available. Microsoft didn't offer an explanation for the problem, but it did flag earlier this month that it will move ahead with sunsetting VB script by disabling it in IE 11 by default via an update in this week's patch last week. The change to disable VB script will take effect in the upcoming cumulative updates for Windows 7, 8, and 8.1 on August 13, 2019, they warned in a blog post. The change brought these versions of Windows in line with Windows 10. However, it's not clear that the issue under investigation issues are related to this measure. Regardless of the cause, the error could be a hassle for organizations that rely on Microsoft's various incarnations of Visual Basic. In a blog post shared by Slash.reader, blah, blah, Microsoft warns that any future malware that exploits these could propagate from vulnerable computer to vulnerable computer without user interaction. So the affected versions of Windows are Windows 7 SP1, Windows Server 2008 R2 SP1, Windows Server 2012, Windows 8.1, Windows Server 2012 R2, and all supported versions of Windows 10, including server version. I went ahead and I installed it on 7 and 08, and I tried different things. Nothing broke, but it's probably because I don't use VB script. But if something is not working right on your system or on your network or whatever after the update, just be aware that this may be it, and just maybe roll it back until they have an update. Or, I mean, the reason why you do want to update, because if you don't, that's the problem, that any future malware that exploit these would propagate from vulnerable computer to vulnerable computer without user interaction. If you don't do the update, you are very vulnerable. So you have to choose. Well, something's going to break, or we're going to be in trouble. Bluekeep. Nick, you were talking about ransomware and all this. It seems like not a day goes by without a major company being hacked or leaving user email addresses and passwords exposed to the public internet. These login credentials are then routinely used by hackers to hijack your accounts. A threat that largely mitigated by using a password manager and unique passwords for each site you visit. Sites like Have I Been Pawned can help users track if their data has been exposed. and whether they need to worry about their credentials bouncing around the dark web. But it's still a confusing process for many users, unsure of which password need updating. If you're not sure if your password needs an update it, change it. Gal, you were telling us about different password managers. Which
Right.
what's the latest on that? Any
I mean, I stick with Bitwarden, but
Bitwarden?
any of the password managers that so the only thing I hear from that article, right, is people are confused by the idea of multiple passwords.
Yeah.
And so what we need to do is we need to help people understand that it's not an option. It's not currently, it's not their fault, right? It's not the people's fault, it's the technology fault. But right now, there is no other choice than doing this. There are several ways to do it. You want to manage it on your own, have a piece of paper, write them down, but make sure you have a different one for everyone. A piece of paper, at least, technology-wise, is the hardest thing to hack.
Right.
Right. You want something more automated. You can use an Excel sheet with a password on it, but understand that that Excel sheet is hackable.
Sure.
And rather easy, right? If the same thing for Word documents, anything that you can. It's true also for PDFs that can be encrypted. They're not that secure, and that's why using a dedicated application is usually the way to go. Now, because passwords are everywhere, and I mean everywhere, right? One of the things users who start to embrace the idea of multiple passwords, they want it on their mobile phone. To get it on their mobile phone, they now need to start and decide, is it only going to be on my mobile phone, or am I going to sync it? And that's where the complexity and the headache starts. And that's what password managers they excel at. Find a password manager that gives you the feature set that you need. There are a few open source ones, and when it comes to security, open source is usually the best solution, mainly because it updates quickly when news like a hackable exploit comes out. It updates quickly to patch those, and it usually means also that you will never be locked out, because you will always be able to put your hands on the code to export everything and transfer everything. Uh, of course, it needs to be a well-maintained open source project, an active one, and not a project of a single person that you know that might go away soon, right? So it needs to be well maintained. KeyPass is one of the most popular ones. There are versions for Android, there are versions for iOS, there are versions for Windows and Mac. There are versions for every conceivable platform, but it won't sync automatically between the platforms. You'll need to do some additional work there. LastPass, I haven't used LastPass for a while, but that was the password manager I've used before moving to Bitwarden. And LastPass stores everything on their server, but it is encrypted. They don't have any access to your data. You cannot, if you forget your password, the data is gone. It's dead.
Yeah, they can't help you with that.
Yeah, they can't help you. So the way I used it is I actually had I opened two LastPass, one free account and one was a premium account, And in the free account, I stored the password for the premium account. So in case I forget it for some reason or whatnot, I'll still have access to it. And that one was uh, had a actually had a rather simple password, but it had two-factor authentication. Uh, so one of the things that they give you is two-factor authentication, where a code on your phone or an SMS or maybe a physical key will allow you to open those. Um, I know that there's Dashlane and 1Password. Um, Firefox has recently came out with Mozilla, more to the point, has came out with the password manager of their own. Actually, I don't know how much if it's on their own or they just embraced something else and incorporated it. But it is finally not only within Firefox, so you can have you can manage your passwords not just for the Firefox browser this way. And Bitwarden. And the reason I use Bitwarden is a completely open source project, and it allows self-hosting. Now, most people won't be interested in self-hosting. Sometimes it's too technical, but uh, the fact that it allows it is a huge a huge step in trust, right? Because it gives a lot more control if you want to take control over the data. It works the same way as I explained for LastPass, because it is something that is hosted externally or internally in your network. That server keeps all of the clients synchronized. So your web browser and your phone and the browser at work, they all have the same encrypted package synchronized between them, and so access to it is a lot more secure.
Hmm.
You can always just keep a notepad with all the passwords. Just keep in mind that if anybody gains access to your physical computer, right, it's like that piece of paper. If anyone takes that piece of paper and knows what it contains and understand that, then that uh, um, that might be your downfall, right? That might be the breach you don't want to happen. But right now, it is safer to have a notepad file full of usernames and passwords on your personal computer or even on your phone, rather than use the same username and password on all your accounts.
Absolutely.
The reason is your phone or your personal computer is not interesting to a hacker, to a random hacker, unless you are worried from your brother or your wife or your husband from getting into uh, that piece of information, right? Then you're okay. Use that. Start using that. There are random password generators all over. All you need to do is go to a search engine, any search engine, and say random password generator. You can. It'll be safe to use even the top one. Just make sure that you generate a password, put it in that file, and then you just copy paste and use that.
Hmm.
When you start thinking about the moment you'll have a different password for every site that you visit, right? You are light years away from most of the people, and so you're no longer the low hanging fruit,
Right.
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
So
go
Go
ahead,
ahead,
Nick.
Tom. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, that's it.
This might not be it falls into this conversation. This may not be the most popular conversation, but dealing with the situation here where a mutual friend of, nevertheless, somebody relatively young passed away and they have none of his passwords.
Hmm.
Mm.
And So how does that factor into how do you handle that, Gal? I mean, so I mean, you're married, you have a son and a wife. I mean, what if
Right.
you were to get hit by a bus tomorrow? Would they have access to any of your stuff? How would that work?
That is a good question. Um, the way to deal with that is to make sure that they do have access to it in one way or another. Either you write it inside a will or something, right? You say the password to the main account is blah 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 blah, and make sure you update your will every time you do that.
Hmm.
One way is to keep a password vault specifically for that account and incorporate that into a will. Uh, so that might save you the hassle there. Um, Systems like LastPass, when you buy the premium, they have a shared something called a family vault or family sharing. As I said, I haven't used them in a while, but I do remember they have that feature. And then you can share access to some of the passwords. So you can set up the password like that. Bitwarden has sharing for a premium. So I would guess you need to find a way of making sure somebody else has access to your password in a safe and secure way. That's actually an excellent question. A friend of
Absolute.
mine
Yeah.
had his mother-in-law passed away, and what was the problem? The problem was something with Apple with their iCloud storage. They couldn't access her iCloud storage, and all they wanted was to increase the storage on the iCloud so they can sync her entire album that was on the phone, which exceeded the iCloud storage. It took them about 2 months to gain access to that. Filing for a deceased relative, sending him that, and then there's a cooling period of uh, a whole lot of days. It was a crappy situation.
So if nothing else, using a password manager just for just for the fact of if something were to happen to you, your passwords are at least in one place is probably a decent tip in itself. Like me,
I
I don't
mean,
use a password manager. If I was to drop dead today, nobody would know what any of my passwords are. I don't have them written down. They're all in my head. That's a huge problem.
well, yeah. Um, the way I say I don't know my password. I mean, I know like probably 5 passwords,
Mhm.
right? And everything else is randomly generated and in my password vault.
Yeah. I need to
And
start you doing that.
yeah, and the moment I started doing that, it was it was freeing. It's literally like a load taking off. Uh, Now I was using LastPass at the time, and a couple of years after that, they had a breach. Actually, not a huge breach. They detected activity from the outside on their network. Nothing was taken. Nothing of value was taken, and in any way, even specific vaults, if they were accessed, uh, the time to crack them, right, would have been years.
Yeah, 100 years
Yeah,
to break into a
yeah.
password
So
vault.
yeah, something like that. So it's not like there was huge risk, but even with that going on, and they sent out an email to all of their customers. I heard it first from them, not from anywhere outside of them. And even with that, that was freeing. That was still okay. I made a good choice um, because I didn't need to remember all of those passwords. I know the password to my work computer. I know the password to my main Google account, right? Um, and I know the password to my password vault. Everything else is I can't even remember them. There are sites where I choose to put 8-character passwords, right? The minimum, because I need to type them on some cockamamie device or something. Other than that, I make them 32 characters long with symbols and crap, right? Um, I find it since I used a password manager, I found which of the banks that I've used in the past have crappy security, where they limit me to 10 characters password. Cracking 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 a 10 character password today is like an hour, 2 hour thing, right? It's come on, right? So there's like it also helped revealed a lot of issues with the sites that I've used. Um,
Oh, and here's another thing too. Just because you use LastPass or Bitwarden, like you said, Gal, you don't have to use. For example, if you're a frequent member of forums, right? Who cares if your forum account gets hacked or something very low risk? You don't have to use LastPass or Bitwarden for everything. It's a good idea, but if you're using a very low risk, something that frankly doesn't matter if it's there or not, if it's too much of a pain and you don't like using LastPass, you definitely should use it for your banks, your anything that's got a debit or credit card attached to it. But if you've got an alter ego on Reddit, I don't necessarily know if you need to be using a LastPass to keep track of that password. So you don't. It's not like
you're
you have
right.
to. Not like you have to use. Not. It's not like you have to go all in with LastPass. I think if you're using it for important services with bank accounts or payment methods loaded, then eventually you'll switch over, but don't feel like you have to use you have to just every account you make, you have to have a 32 character password with uh characters and special characters and caps and numbers and all this other nonsense. You don't have to, but use it for the important stuff at least at the minimum
Right.
and you'll be good.
So I don't know how it would be on iOS, right? Because iOS is
Oh,
so
here we go, Mr. iOS hater. Yeah.
no. Just because I don't know how, I'm pretty sure they have some sort of solution because I do know they have password managers on iOS. I just don't know how it
Yeah,
works.
keychain.
Right. Yeah, but I don't know like the functionality. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So this is Firefox, right? Not a Google product. I'm on the Android, and it's not a Google product. And I go to Google and I hit the sign in, right? Okay. Okay. So I hit the sign in.
Yep.
Now, when I click here, you see that? Let me hold it. Do you see the text?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So now it tells me, hey, do you want to log in with Bitwarden? This is for every password or every login entry, right? That pops up. I click on it. This time it asked me to log in with my fingerprint, right? I log in, and now I have the list of accounts that are relevant for that site. And I just choose that, and it fills automatically. That's
So
true for the forum. That's true for any website that asks you for a username password. So you're right. You don't need to go all in. But if you're using a password manager that allows you access everywhere, you start using it everywhere
and this is the
because
way.
it.
Oh, sorry.
Well,
This
I would say, Nick, I would go along with you. Baby steps.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
this is the way
Use
iOS
the
does it. It's the
main,
same way that you just described it, Carl. They're
yeah.
all the sites I have password
Use
blocked.
the important ones, and don't let it overwhelm you. And then, as you get used to the service, the app, then you can add other ones.
oh yeah, definitely,
That's what
definitely.
I'm gonna do today. You've
Start with your main mail account, the one that your bank reports to, the one that Facebook sends data to. Starts with those. You lock them down with a password that you know is unbreakable. By the way, the way to do that is not necessarily a password that is automatically generated because you log in a lot to that. So if an account like that allows two-factor authentication, enable that. Uh, do that and create a very strong password manager password. It needs to be long. It needs to be hard to type. No, sorry, it doesn't need to be hard to type. It needs to be long. It can be like 5 words with spaces in them. Do that. That's a lot better than having a short, hard to remember password.
What is your recommendation for having a secure, strong password? Like you said, something like a mail or a Gmail account, something that you may be logging into a billion times on different devices. You want to put it in LastPass. You want to have something secure. Without giving away your structure for how you come up with passwords, what's a good way to come up with a secure password that isn't your last name and your birthday or like a typical
Right,
structure
right.
that the government has said is this is what people look for: last name, place of birth, something,
Pet
date,
name.
whatever.
Yeah.
Exact, something like that. What is the best way to come up with something like that?
So I'm gonna post a link to
And Nick,
XKCD.
Tim put a message that said that passwords are obsolete. You need to use passphrases these
Mm,
days, and that
that's
makes
interesting.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically that's exactly what I sent just now. If you know XKCD years ago already discussed this
Yep.
in and passphrase is the best thing because it's usually easy to type with our muscle memory and the way we work. Um, but it really depends on whether the account you're accessing has two-factor authentication or not. Okay, that's really critical. Uh, for my Gmail account, my password is probably 16 character long, built by 2 words, a mixture of some caps lock and lowercase, uppercase and lowercase characters with a symbol, but it has some meaning to me. So when I write it, I know what I'm writing.
Yeah.
The same goes to my password account. It's a long phrase with 5 or 6 words. I have the benefit of knowing a second language, right? So I actually use Hebrew. Although I write in English letters, I use Hebrew. So I know that my words are not necessarily going to be in a simple dictionary attack. Um, but even if they are in a dictionary attack, the dictionary attack still needs to work with uh, combinations, right, of probabilities. So using a 5 to 6 word phrase, even if they're all lowercase, no symbols, no nothing, that should be enough.
Yeah.
I can tell you that I'm not that secure. On the machines that I use daily, my password vault is open automatically. I don't care about it being closed on my main machine, even though my family uses it, because I have nothing to hide from them. So the places where it gets locked all the time is on my phone, because that I can easily forget, on my work laptop, stuff like that. But on my home machine, yeah, if somebody gains access to my home machine, they'll gain access to everything. Uh, but I mean, like, they need to be physically present on the machine. So it all depends on what you're keeping safe. And even here, you can use just multiple vaults, right? One vault that you use all the time, and a vault that you log in to only when you need something really, really secure, or you're afraid that it can be stolen.
Makes sense.
Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna take your advice, Kyle. I've been pushing this off for 3 years now. I'm gonna set up a password manager this afternoon and start moving some stuff over.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. It's just it's worth doing.
Good boy.
Thank you. Oh, now Gal's sending me
All right.
WhatsApp messages. I'm hacked. He's hacking my WhatsApp account.
All right. It's that time of day. Any last words, Mike?
Mike left 20
Oh.
minutes ago. I don't know where
I
he
didn't
went.
see that.
Yeah,
Okay.
he doesn't like us.
Yeah. Hater. Okay. Well, thanks. Gal,
Yes, sir.
thanks. Mike, if you're watching us after the fact, thank you. Good morning, Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Katie, and Donna. Thanks, everybody, for tuning to Computers 2K Now. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together. Remember to practice safe computing. Back up your hard drive, update your virus scanner, set up a password manager.
There you go.
We'll be back here next Sunday at 9, but you can always reach us at computers2know.com. Tonight at 9, Mike Phillips hosts the Crypto Culture Show. Nick is going to come back with his show after he comes back from PAX. To listen to Mike's show, which is on Big Talker 106.7. The link on TuneIn is under the links on the left. See you next week.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Telestream's Wirecast software, StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.